priority setting, what you usually find when you're working in groups, especially if you're doing service planning, is you come up with a lot of ideas or action steps that you want to take as a group, and you don't have the time or resources to do all of them. So we're going to walk through 3 different methods you can use to prioritize your actions or your ideas that you have and help you make a decision on what you should be doing. So I already asked a group, small group, a question earlier. I asked them, what steps can we take to work more closely with Employment Ontario partners in the coming year? They brainstormed 10 different responses to that question. So they've got 10 potential actions or ideas that they can implement in terms of working more closely with Employment Ontario partners in the coming year. They can't do all 10 of them. So we're going to work through 3 different exercises to help them prioritize those. The first method we're going to use is called the Quadrant Method. That's this one over here on the flip chart. Quadrant Method works really well if you have 2 clear criteria that you want to use to assess your actions or ideas. The one that we're going to work through is the 2 criteria being, is it important and how urgent is it? Some other criteria you could use would be effort and impact. So how much effort do we have to put into it? It could be high or low effort, and what will be the impact? So high or low impact. So the one we're going to use is important and urgent. So you see there's 4 different quadrants. We've got items that would be considered to be important and urgent, items that would be considered still to be important but not urgent, items that are not important and not urgent, and items that are not important and urgent. When you're using the quadrant method, once you have everything in it, you'll see the area you really want to focus is in the upper part of the quadrant. So on those action items or ideas that are important, that's where you want to put your time. You want to start in this quadrant where things are important and urgent. Plan to do these ones next, important and not urgent. You want to manage these ones that are not important and urgent, and try to avoid those that are not important and not urgent. So it gives you a sense of how you should be managing all of the things on your list. So Summer and Anne-Marie are going to join us. Start with information sharing. So information sharing is a potential action to work better with Employment Ontario partners. Where would that fit in our quadrant?
It's important but not urgent.
Summer?
Yeah, I would agree.
Great. So stick it in there, important, not urgent.
Information sharing about meetings and events and things that are going on in the community. So it's nice to know, but it's not something that's going to, give a lot of direction.
Great. What about integration meetings?
I would put that under important and urgent.
Great. Research best practices and promote them, and attend each other's staff meetings.
Not important.
Is it urgent?
No, I don't think so.
So we got one down there. Great. So you see that we took 10 different potential actions around how we can work better together with our Employment Ontario partners in the coming year, and you slotted them based on their importance and their urgency. So you put 4 that are important and urgent. Those are the ones that you want to start working with. So those would be your top 4 things to work on. Then what you would do next, you got a whole bunch over there. I think there's 5 in there that are important, not urgent. And probably this one you're not going to do because it's not important and not urgent. So that's one way that you took a bunch of different actions and sort of slotted them to figure out what should we be working on first. Gave you a good sense of the 4 you want to work on first. So we're going to take those same 10 actions and we're going to slot them a different way. So here's another way that you can prioritize actions or ideas. You can do them as priority 1, 2, and 3. So what's something we must do, something we should do, something that's nice to do. So let's bring our 10 over again and start to slot them based on where you think they might fit on this one. It's interesting when we used a different set of criteria that some of them moved, when we used the quadrant, we had some that were important, not urgent, that were sort of your second on your list. Some of them actually moved down to a priority number 3 when we used a must do, a should do, and a nice to do. So saw a little bit of a different shift in terms of the actions you may take, but again, still had those 4 at the top in terms of those priority number 1s that you wanted to work on. So now we're going to do something a little more complicated. You need to make a decision where you think you're going to need some evidence to actually support your decision around how did we make our decision to decide versus it was a must do, a should do, a nice to do, or important and urgent. This one will give you a little more substance around making that decision. So what we're going to do is a couple of different steps to it. I've got 3 different steps up here. What we're going to do first of all is you're going to talk about what are the criteria that we want to use to actually decide which actions we want to take in the year. So it could be things like, does it fit with our mandate as a group or as an organization? Does it fit with our stakeholders or our funders' expectations? What's the level of impact that it might have? What are the amount of resources that we need to do it? But we need to think about what are some of the criteria we're going to use to assess what actions we might want to take in the coming year. Can you think of any potential criteria that we might want to use?
I think, is it doable?
Great.
So that does take into consideration resources, time.
Yeah. Oops. Doable would be a good criteria. What's another criteria we could use?
Community impact.
So what's the impact on the community of doing it?
And individuals.
Great. See, what we're doing is we're starting to build a little grid. This is called a grid analysis. So we start by putting our criteria across the top, in the top row. What you want to do is probably have less than 10 criteria. That'd be an awful lot to sort of assess. So try to keep it so. We're going to keep it for 3 today just to keep it doable. So we've decided we're going to assess our actions based on how doable we think they are, what the community impact is, and fit with our mandate. So once you've come up with your criteria, then you want to say, what's the scale? How are we going to actually rate things? So some different scales you could use. You could use like a 1 to 3, where 1 would be low, 2 would be medium, 3 would be high. Or you could do a scale of 1 to 4, where again 1 would be poor, 2 would be fair, 3 would be good, 4 would be excellent. So you could pick how are we actually going to decide how we rate on each of those criteria. So which one do you think you guys want to use today?
Low, medium, high.
Low, medium, high? You okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's going to be our scale for low, medium, high. Then what you want to talk about is there a weight? Like, is doable weighted more than the community impact or fit with mandate? So is one of those or some of those criteria more important than other ones? Or are they all the same?
I would probably weight community impact higher.
Higher? So what do we want to give it? Higher in terms of what? Like 4 times higher, 2 times higher? If all of these get like a 1, what would this be? Would it be 2 times it? Would it be
3.
3? So a weight of 3? Would these all be a 1 then? Yeah? Great. So you see what we've done? We've got our 3 criteria. We decided we've got a scale. Then we decided what's the weight of each of our criteria. Noting community impact has more of a weight. Then what you're going to do is take each of your actions, and we're going to talk about, is it a low, medium, or high in terms of doable community impact and fit with mandate. We'll just do a couple of them to give people a sense because we don't want to do all 10. Let's start with cross-training. So you put that over here in your column. It would say cross-training. How doable is it? Low, medium, or high? High. High, so we get a 3. What's its community impact? Low, medium, or high?
Medium.
Oh, you guys are. Yeah. Let's do it at the same time. What about fit with your mandate?
High.
Great. So then what you want to do, so we put the scale on it. You want to multiply it by the weight, right? So that would be times 1, that would be times 3, that would be times 1. So we have, comes up with 3, 6, this is where math comes in handy, for a total of, wow. Okay, so let's pick one from this. So one of our other actions was review data. Actually gives you pretty, it's more comprehensive in terms of how you're determining it versus we did just 4 here, we must do, should do, nice do. This actually has you say what are the specific criteria we want to look at, what kind of scale are we going to use, what kind of weight do each of our criteria have, and gives you a more in-depth sort of look at what you should be doing. So in this one it says we should actually be developing screening tools first, then doing our cross-training, and then reviewing our data. It's interesting, if we took, like, let's take this one, which is a really, came out low on all of them, which is attending each other's staff meetings. I won't write on the wall. How doable is that one?
Very.
So 3?
Mm-hmm.
What's its community impact?
Low.
So 1. And fit with your mandate?
Medium?
Medium. So again, if we do our weights, that would get a 3, 3, 2, so we get an 8. So it's still coming out lower, but you're still, and what it will help you do is these both are on your top ones, on both. It actually made a distinction that this one is actually should be higher on your list in terms of priority. So this is a really good way, especially if you need some evidence and a really comprehensive way to actually look at all of your different actions or ideas and prioritize which one should come out on top. So I gave you 3 different ways you can do it. There's lots more different ways you can prioritize, but this gives you 3 ways. Again, to kind of get 2 criteria, you can use your quadrant method. If you just want to do 3 priorities, must do, should do, nice to do, you could also do low, medium, or high in terms of those 3 for your priorities. And then the grid analysis, which is it gives you a more comprehensive look at actually determining what your priorities should be.